On behalf of everyone at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club, we're thrilled to welcome the Breeders' Cup back to Del Mar. A tremendous amount of hard work and planning goes into presenting the Breeders' Cup World Championships. At the top of that list is equine safety and welfare. Unfortunately, there was an incident this morning during training in which a horse got loose and injured herself. Unfortunately, due to the extent of the injuries, the horse set the tone could not be saved. The entire Del Mar team extends our condolences to her connections. Despite being saddened by this news, it's important to note there's been significant progress in the area of equine safety and welfare over the last several years. As an example, California has reduced the incidence of fatal injuries by 50% over the last 2 years, according to a report issued by the California Horse Racing Board this past summer. In addition, the industry's equine injury database lists Del Mar as the safest major racetrack for the last 3 years. And while these results are encouraging, we know there's always more work to be done to ensure the safest possible environment for racing and training. And we know the Breeders' Cup, as an industry leader, shares this unwavering commitment to safety. To speak more about that, here's the Breeders' Cup's President and CEO, Drew Fleming.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you for everyone being here today. We appreciate it. We're excited to be back in Del Mar and the San Diego community. They've welcomed us with open arms this week, and we've been working closely for many months and actually years on the planning for this year's Breeders' Cup. The Del Mar team has just done an incredible amount of work and a great job, and hats off to all of you, and we're very lucky to be back here for the second time. First time we were here was in 2017. We could not be more thrilled to be here in sunny Southern California and to have our fans join us back this year since they were unable to attend last year at Keeneland. I'm very grateful for all the hard work, not only from my team at the Breeders' Cup and Josh's team at Del Mar, but from public health officials, infectious disease experts, and others in the community who have made this week possible amid the ongoing pandemic. Up here today with us, we have an incredible team of experts. On the equine safety side, we've got our Chief Racing Officer, Dora Delgado, the co-leads of the Breeders' Cup Veterinary team, Dr. William Farmer and Dr. Deborah Lamparter, CHRB Equine Medical Director, Dr. Jeff Blaya, and Racetrack Safety Program Director, Dr. Mick Peterson. To help us talk through the COVID-19 safety protocols in place, we're grateful to also have Del Mar's Vice President of Risk Management, Kim Jacobson, joining us. 2021 has been another challenging year, and I'm again struck by the resiliency of our industry, including everyone who works directly with our incredible equine athletes. It's on all of us to do our best to keep our athletes and team members, equine and human, safe, and to educate all stakeholders about the strict equine safety protocols that are in place for the Breeders' Cup participants, in addition to what we hope to accomplish through the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Authority next year, when we'll all be operating under the same set of rules with swift adjudication and consistent enforcement. We at Breeders' Cup greatly look forward to the cohesive national safety regulations and expedited processes that HISA will bring to our sport in 2022. Thank you again to Josh and everyone at Del Mar for being such gracious hosts. We've got an incredible 2 days of racing ahead of us on Friday and Saturday, but in order to get there, we continue to keep health and safety our top priority. To that end, I'm honored to introduce our wonderful Chief Racing Officer, Dora Delgado, to discuss the Breeders' Cup best-in-class equine standards.
Thank you, Drew. The hallmark of the Breeders' Cup World Championships is our safety and security programs, which combine equine surveillance with the advanced out-of-competition testing programs and veterinary observations on track. Horses that are competing in one of the 14 championship races had a mandatory security check-in at Tuesday, November 2nd at 11 a.m. This is 96 hours for our Saturday runners and a full day earlier than 2020. Also new for 2021, undercard runners must arrive for their security check-in 48 hours before they race. These check-in times allow both our equine surveillance teams and veterinary teams the maximum amount of time to observe all runners. They are then monitored by a 3-part security team consisting of individual security officers maintaining logs of visits to stalls, and these officers are managed by the Breeders' Cup team of equine investigators, which are approximately 20 this year. The Breeders' Cup equine investigators are all individuals with professional law enforcement or racing investigative backgrounds and attend training each year on the latest equine surveillance methods. This team works hand in hand with the California Horse Racing Board's investigators who have the authority to act on anything the team finds suspicious. The road to the Breeders' Cup World Championships kicks off with our Challenge Win and You're In series, and of course graded and group races around the world. We were the first organization to create an out-of-competition testing program identifying challenge winners for testing and other possible runners. They are tested for performance-enhancing medications and other banned substances. Dr. William Farmer, Equine Medical Director for Churchill Downs, administers and manages our out-of-competition testing program and will tell you about the protocols and the results this year.
Thank you, Dora. So this year we, as we have in the past, our out-of-competition testing season started in June when we begin our United States-based Win and You're In races. At that point, horses are selected based on nominations to a Breeders' Cup race, their entries into a Win and You're In race, and obviously those winners that win the challenge races. This year, to date, we have tested over 200 horses. 100% of pre-entries were tested. And those results are continuing to come in, but as of this point, we've had no significant findings. New this year, we added a pre-competition testing period. So yesterday morning on November 2nd at 9:30, we had multiple teams of veterinarians that went out, and samples were collected on all 166 entered horses yesterday that were entered as of yesterday morning. Those test results were then overnighted, or the samples were overnighted to UC Davis, which is the official lab for Breeders' Cup, as well as the CHRB. Those samples are undergoing testing as we speak. Those results will be returned to us prior to scratch time on Friday. The testing, I have to thank all of my counterparts in racing jurisdictions across the country and across the world. This year we tested in 8 different North American racing jurisdictions, as well as Ireland, England, and France. It takes a massive effort and a collaborative effort of all of my colleagues, and we're very appreciative of their assistance and time that they have provided to help us ensure the integrity of our races. Something that we began last year at Keeneland, and we have continued on to this year, to touch briefly on our on-track trot-up exams. As we did last year, 2 exams are required, where we are keeping track of these horses. This is an opportunity for us to examine these horses with weight up to help replicate what we anticipate to see on race day as these horses are warming up in the post parade. I would say that this was very well received last year at Keeneland. It has been very well supported this year. The horsemen have been very helpful in allowing us to examine their horses with weight up, and it's allowed us to have some really good insight to how these horses are traveling, how they like the track, and we are able to make the best decision possible when it comes to allowing a horse to proceed towards entry. So with that, and to continue our on-track safety programs, I'm going to pass the mic to Dr. Debbie Lamparter to explain our safety procedures.
Good morning. I should say that the Breeders' Cup Vet Panel has been long-standing, in fact, since 1993. This year, we also have a very large team of impartial, experienced regulatory veterinarians from across racing jurisdictions in the United States, as well as Canada and England. We have been very busy teaming up with the California Horse Racing Board veterinarians to examine and observe all of these horses. There was a team at Santa Anita all of last week. All of the Breeders' Cup horses there were given a barn exam, as well as trot-ups were done there. A first trot-up, they have been doing their second trot-ups here at Del Mar. We have checked the histories of all of the entrants, as well as medical records are being reviewed, which Dr. Blaya will talk about. The teams have been doing physical inspections at the barn that include palpation of the horse's legs as well as jogging. Will covered the trot-up exams, and I said we also did those at Santa Anita. I should mention too that the video footage is there from the trot-ups, and we can request to review that later in the day if we wish. We have had joint meetings of the CHRB veterinarians and the Breeders' Cup veterinarians to review all of the inspection information, and we meet to discuss race day coverage, injury management plans, and communication protocols. If the veterinarians, through all of these exams and discussions, feel that there is anything of concern, then we may pursue, we have discussion with the trainer and ask to pursue diagnostics on some of the horses. After all of those reviews, if the horse is deemed unsound or have any issue that they should not participate, then the official California Horse Racing Board veterinarian will recommend that the horse be scratched. When we get to race day, pre-race exams are done on every horse by the California Horse Racing Board veterinarian, accompanied by a Breeders' Cup veterinarian. All the entrants are checked at that time. After that, there's a meeting to discuss the horses, and from that point, we cover the races. 4 veterinarians, 2 BC, 2 California Racing Board veterinarians will be in the paddock this year to observe the horses in there, and then they will go to the finish line and watch the horses coming back from the races as well. This year we have 2 chase trucks on the racetrack. The first truck is the primary truck, and that is going to follow the running of every race. Those veterinarians will watch the warm-ups, they will watch gate loading, and watch the horses returning to be unsaddled. And of course, should there be an emergency, they will be the first to respond. The second chase vehicle, also with Breeders' Cup and California veterinarians, will observe warm-ups and will respond to any emergency if needed. We have a gator on the infield that has California and Breeders' Cup veterinarians on it as well. They are, of course, monitoring the running of the races, and being on the turf area, they can certainly watch warm-ups there, gate loading, running of the race, and the gallops out afterwards. There is also strategic placement of all the veterinarians we have around the racetrack during the post-parade so that the horses can be observed before they go to the gate. On the grounds, there are 3 horse ambulances positioned around the racetrack, and the veterinarians from UC Davis are staffing those and will travel to the emergencies in those ambulances. All of this has been planning and is there to totally ensure that the horses are observed from paddock to post to gate to wire. Dora?
Thank you, Dr. Debbie. As Will and Debbie mentioned, as with the security teams, our veterinary teams are made up of separate groups that collaborate and work together to ensure the health and safety of every runner. These are the California Horse Racing Board veterinarians, the safety stewards, the Del Mar Track veterinarian, the Breeders' Cup International Veterinary Team, and the USDA APHIS team, who clear our international runners on their import to the United States. To speak on the latest reforms and examination protocols for the California Horse Racing Board, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jeff Blaya, Equine Medical Director.
Thank you, Dora, and welcome everyone. The California Horse Racing Board takes welfare and safety to the extreme. We believe that's the core of our mission at this time. Over the last several years, there have been numerous changes in California, and arguably in California we have perhaps the strictest medication and the highest regard for safety in the country. An example of our medication changes and rules include 48-hour stand down on nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories. No horse may receive a nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory within 48 hours of a race. Only one nonsteroidal is permitted to be found in that horse or permitted to be administered to that horse. We do not allow for stacking of nonsteroidals, and there are penalties according to IFHA guidelines and standards if there is stacking of nonsteroidals. In addition to the nonsteroidal rule, in California, we have no authorized threshold in post-race testing for nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories. Further to that, clenbuterol has a 30-day stand down. We have no authorized threshold for clenbuterol in the state of California. Intra-articular injections in California, we were the first in the country to go to a 14-day stand down. It's a severe stand down, but we felt it was necessary to protect the health and welfare of the horse. Stakeholders have embraced this, and we have had no issues with this. To that 14-day stand down for any intra-articular injections, There are no authorized corticosteroid thresholds in post-race testing. To further enhance safety and welfare, bisphosphonates are restricted to 6 months in the state of California. No horse may be administered a bisphosphonate within 6 months of arriving into the state of California. If they are not permitted on CHRB facilities. In addition to that, shockwave therapy has a 30-day stand-down time. The horse goes on the vet's list, must have an official vet exam with post-race testing before he's removed from the vet's list. There are many other medication reforms that have occurred in the last 2 years, but I'll just highlight those. To that, another addition to our regulations has been electronic reporting of all veterinary medications and treatments. All veterinarians licensed to practice on a CHRB enclosure are required to report all medications and treatments in an electronic format developed by the Jockey Club. We have access to that information, and we review that information on a daily basis. As we go through that, the electronic treatment reporting system, we have access to all the medications and treatments to all horses on a CHRB enclosure. Another rule that we put into place is any horse that has not been on a CHRB enclosure within 30 days of a race, trainers must submit veterinary records and treatments for that horse for the previous 30 days. We review those treatments to see if there's any violations of our rules. We review those treatments to see if there's any interest or any issue regarding vet treatment history and or safety. To that, the governor appointed a panel in 2019. It's a entry day panel. Every racetrack in the state of California has a panel review on entry day. For example, what we do, there's 3 of us on that panel. Myself, in Southern California, it's myself, Chief Official Veterinarian Dr. Tim Grande, who spearheaded the program, and Chief CHRB Steward Daryl McCarg. For Breeders' Cup, we've invited Dr. Will Farmer and Dr. Deb Lamparter to sit on this panel. And what occurs on this panel every day on entry day is all horses are evaluated. Past performances are evaluated for any changes in work pattern, any class drops, things like that. All veterinary history is mined on every horse through the electronic reporting system, in addition to vet list history, in addition to 30-day records that we ask they provide us. Furthermore, every examination that is entered on any horse that's entered that day is reviewed by our panel. The panel reviews issues that may put that horse at risk or present a high-risk situation, such as increased number of high-speed furlongs, gaps between works, class drops, things like that. If high-risk characteristics are identified in the panel, that horse becomes a hard watch or a bolted horse, which requires and it gets extra scrutiny and further examination on a daily basis. For Breeders' Cup, we had 5 of us on the panel, 4 veterinarians and the Chief Steward McCarg, and we reviewed every entry day, both entry days for both the Breeders' Cup World Championship races. After we conclude the races, the top 4 finishers in every Breeders' Cup race will go to their test barn. The test barn is regulated by the California Horse Racing Board. We believe in integrity, and we maintain a strict code of conduct and a strict chain of command in our receiving barn and throughout our testing process. All samples post-race will go to the Ken Maddie lab at UC Davis under the guidance of Dr. Ben Moeller, our chief chemist. We will identify, or we will attempt to identify and look for any performance-enhancing medications, any performance-altering medications, as well as therapeutic medications, as well as prohibited medications. We will actually look for greater than 600 compounds in both blood and urine in the post-race testing. That will be done at the Ken Maddie lab. Dora?
Thank you, Dr. Blaya. Of course, the foundation of safety at any race courses are the racing surfaces. Providing consistent and safe surfaces is the responsibility of track superintendent Dennis Moore and turf superintendent Leif Dickinson. They work with Dr. Mick Peterson, Executive Director of the Racing Surfaces Testing Laboratory and Professor of Biosystems and Agricultural Engineering at the University of Kentucky. We take daily measurements with the going stick developed by Turf Track, and these turf conditions and mapping are released daily to horsemen and the media. Dr. Peterson will now brief you on his work and his consultation with Del Mar.
Thank you, Dora. The Racing Surfaces Testing Laboratory oversees surface testing for the Breeders' Cup. A consistent racing surface is not just produced for a 2-day event, however. It requires year-round efforts. We believe that every horse and rider in every race should be provided with a consistent racing surface to minimize risk and provide a fair competition. The larger commitment to providing a good racing surface is possible through the long-term commitment of Del Mar Racetrack. Del Mar has made a consistent commitment to racetrack surface maintenance. Daily operations are led by two of the top racetrack superintendents, Dennis Moore and Leif Dickinson, on the turf track. Both of them have a passion and commitment to their craft, as well as the expertise required for this challenging job. However, their efforts are then supported and inspected using what we call the maintenance quality system. Del Mar is one of only 14 racetracks in the country currently using these protocols. The maintenance quality system includes testing of the surface prior to each race meet, with time allotted for correcting any area of concern prior to allowing the racetrack to be used for racing or training of the horses. This testing includes biomechanical surface testing, ground penetrating radar, inspection of the maintenance equipment, and testing of the materials using standard protocols. In addition to the pre-meet inspection, real-time monitoring and daily testing of the racetrack include real-time weather data, moisture measurements on both the turf and dirt, as well as the cushion depth and turf condition testing using a going stick. While the maintenance quality system is the current state-of-the-art in racetrack testing and monitoring, we believe that continuous improvement is critical for the sport. The University of Kentucky is working with Breeders' Cup, Del Mar, and industry leaders to develop new technologies for improved surface consistency. During the 2021 Breeders' Cup, a new relational database will be interfaced with Internet of Things devices to track measurement devices and equipment in real time on the racetrack. This research will lead to real-time data from the racetrack, which can be used by Leif and Dennis for decision support and to ensure that the racetrack is consistent, both spatially and temporally. Breeders' Cup has committed to best-in-class measurements and control of the racing surface. However, the safety of the horse and rider demands continuous improvement in the racing surface. This commitment must include providing the best possible racing surface at every track for every race, using these new technologies, which can provide better information for management of the racing surface. There is a flyer also that's been distributed as a part of your kit that I think he was handed out. Dora?
Thank you.
Thank you to Dora and our whole equine safety team for that rundown. Switching topics a bit to COVID-19. As thrilled as we are to welcome our fans back on site in just a few days, we know there's still things we need to do to stay safe and healthy as we gather this weekend. I want to thank everyone who has worked closely with us to make it possible to host fans on site. Breeders' Cup and Del Mar have been working with top experts for months to ensure that protocols are in place are effective in mitigating the risk of COVID-19. Breeders' Cup works with Dr. Richard Greenberg, former Chief of Infectious Disease at the University of Kentucky and former employee of the Center for Disease Control. And Del Mar has been closely working with its medical advisors and San Diego County public health officials as well. Both Breeders' Cup and Del Mar will always put the health and safety of our fans, participants, athletes, employees, and the local community first and foremost. I'll now toss it back over to Dora and Kim to talk a little bit more about the protocols we have in place to keep everyone safe this weekend.
Thank you. The challenges we faced in 2020 of keeping our equine athletes, support teams healthy and able to travel during a worldwide pandemic obviously continued in 2021 as we plan for our return to Del Mar. We are following established Del Mar protocols and have informed the trainers and stable staff of the barn area requirements, which include either proof of a completed COVID-19 vaccination or a negative PCR COVID-19 test result taken no earlier than 72 hours prior to arrival, and of course to follow all CDC health protocols while indoors. One of our challenges was also getting international travelers here, as the presidential proclamation ban on certain European countries and South America were still in effect. We applied for and received waivers for over 500 owners, trainers, support staff, and media traveling from European locations, all the while informing them of the CDC recommended guidelines and established our Del Mar protocols with them. We created a health page on our Horseman's website that offered guidance for those participants on what was required to visit not only the barn area, but to attend the races and our other auxiliary events. All working Breeders' Cup staff and media credentials were restricted to only essential personnel allowed in the barn areas while we tried to maintain our health requirements. We did create a separate protocol for jockeys after collaboration with Del Mar and the Jockeys Guild. Jockeys must present a negative COVID-19 test result taken within 24 hours of arriving at Del Mar to ride, regardless of their vaccination status. hand it off to Kim Jacobson now to discuss our health and safety requirements.
Thank you, Dora. Since the very beginning of the pandemic here in the United States, we have had the opportunity to work very closely with the San Diego County Public Health Chief Resiliency Officer, Gary Johnston, and also Scripps Health Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharif. We have had them review our policies, talk with them anytime we have any questions. They've always been more than happy to answer. So all of our policies from the very beginning have been developed with their assistance and cooperation with both. Recommendations from the CDPH, County of San Diego, and also Cal OSHA have been adopted. As Dora stated, all access to the backside has to show proof of vaccination prior to going on to the backside. We have vaccination verification stations at each of the gates to go into the backside. We're issuing stickers on credentials that identifies those people as having been checked. As far as the facility itself, we are following the CDPH and County San Diego guidelines at this point in time. Individuals, because our facility is an outdoor seated area, we are fortunate with that. So we have most areas outside. All areas inside, 6th floor suites, individuals must provide proof of vaccination and a negative COVID test to enter those areas. They will be identified with a wristband. Anybody entering the inside part of our facility that is unvaccinated is being asked to wear a mask. We have increased security and also customer service to ask that those individuals please put their mask on prior to going into the indoor parts of our facility. Keep that mask in place until they return to their outside seated areas and or viewing areas. Drew.
Thanks so much, Kim and Dora. We're excited to see all of our fans on site this weekend, and we look forward to a safe 2 days of racing and an incredible experience for everyone. Thank you again to everyone who works tirelessly to make this event run smoothly and safely each year. Your hard work doesn't go unnoticed, and thank you for everybody joining us today.